Welcome. It's time to get started, and as you can tell, everyone's been muted. If you have questions during the meeting, please use the chat function. I also want to remind you that there will be drawings at the end of the meeting, one for a $50 gift card courtesy of First Premier Title, and the second is 50% off local dues for 2021. However, you must register today at gpbr.com/win up in the upper right-hand corner of your screen, no later than 9:30 to be included in the drawing. If you don't register by 9:30, we can't include you. Also, I want to let you know that after we adjourn the meeting around 10 o'clock, we will leave the Zoom open and for networking until 10:30. At this time, I want to introduce Chris Van Bell, your 2020 Macomb County Chapter President. Mr. President.
Thank you, Bob, and thanks really for all that you've done this year to help us in these interesting times. Our second year together, how amazing this is. Thank you all that are here right now for attending. Today is going to be a really fun and really informational day. But first things first, let's start our meeting how we always do with our Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. This morning, we're going to talk about homeowners associations and more specifically, marijuana grow houses where there is an active HOA. We also will be announcing shortly the results of our election for the Macomb Board of Regents. You will hear from several of our regents on a variety of topics today, as how they relate to what we have been doing in our chapter for 2020. Again, I can't stress enough how exciting and fun of a year it has been. I also want to be sure to thank our corporate partners today whose names have been seen on the screen. And today's sponsors, First Premier Title and House Call Home Inspections. We will be hearing from them very, very soon. Don't forget, Bob did mention that there's going to be a drawing today. I believe a link was put up in the chat. Please go ahead and register because they're, it's pretty cool drawings. I think most of us will agree 2020 has been a year of firsts, giving real life meaning to the term uncharted territory. 2020 also saw your chapter identify individuals whose job is to attend scheduled municipal meetings. This has allowed us to become familiar with what is happening in our local governments and allow our local governments to know how we are paying attention, hopefully giving us a seat at the table as decisions impacting real estate are discussed. We have also established an ongoing relationship with Macomb County, from whom we will get updates at our broker owner meetings in November. These are some really invaluable things that we've been able to do this year that really help us as realtors and help the communities. Without any further ado, I would like to announce our regents. Our voting has ended this Monday, and the results are Pat Derry, Kathleen Kelchner, Mary Rose Olenichek, and George Shaheen. Congratulations to all of you. Jamie Paternoster is elected as our affiliate regent. And we're going to hopefully be appointing our YPA, or Young Professionals Advisor, pretty soon. The rest of the people on our board that will be on here for this year are Don Simons, Kelly Dix, Grant Croakfield, Gino Tazzi, who is our 2021 president, and then I will be our past president for 2021 as well. In a moment, we're going to hear from Jeff Volmar. Mr. Volmar is a partner at McCower, Abate, Guerrero, Wagner, and Volmar, and he's going to cover our homeowner associations and related legal issues and discuss how marijuana is going to play into this. But before we hear from Jeff, I'd like to introduce Tina Hambleton from First Premier Title.
Hi, my name is Tina Hambleton, and I am the manager at First Premier Title in Shelby Township. We are located on Hayes Road between Hall Road and 21 Mile in the Hayes Shopping Plaza. I want to thank you for allowing me to be your sponsor today, and I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to listen to this video. I wanted to go over a type of deed that I have been seeing, a type of quitclaim deed, I should say, that I have been seeing quite often lately, and I'm sure you've heard of it. It's called a life estate deed, or also known as a ladybird deed. And what that deed does, it allows the creator, while they are still alive, to name their beneficiaries upon their death. The reason for this, it would avoid probate. It is prepared by an attorney, and it is part of estate planning. Upon the creator's death, the deed is then, the property is then transferred over to the beneficiaries, and they become the owners of the property. I've been seeing it quite often, and again, it does avoid probate. Again, it does have to be done by an attorney, but it does save the hassle of your beneficiaries through going through probate. I thought it was quite interesting because of the fact of how many we have been seeing, and I just thought it would be a little bit of information that may be helpful to you so you know exactly what that is. I've also seen that if the creator has then upon their death has transferred it to their trust, then we would need trust information as well. But I thought it was a little bit of information that may help you when you see those. It is, again, something that your customer would have to go and see an attorney, because it's definitely part of estate planning, because there are other ways you can go as well. But I just thought that little tidbit of information might help you out. Again, we're located in Shelby Township, Tina Hambleton. My phone number is 580-2138. If you would like any more information, I would be more than happy to help you with that. Hope you guys have a great day, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Tina, and thanks for being a sponsor of today's meeting. We're now going to hear from Jeff Vollmer. If you have questions regarding Jeff's presentation, please use the Zoom chat function and we will get them to him when he concludes. By the way, I want to add that we have learned subsequent to getting Jeff scheduled that his firm is the premier company in the state of Michigan when it comes to condos and homeowners associations. So we're hearing from an expert today. Jeff, go ahead.
Well, Bob, thank you for those kind words, and I want to thank the board for inviting me here today. And as Bob alluded to, we specialize in the representation of community associations, and we have about 1,800 clients throughout the state of Michigan. And I realize that community associations, being condominium and subdivision homeowner associations, may be an afterthought to your clients. But the reality is that there are very important rules and regulations that exist in these communities that can impact use of residential properties. And one of the most common violation issues that we're seeing is marijuana, okay? And especially since the approval of the marijuana referendum back in 2018. And I realized that, hey, the voters of Michigan approved that referendum, and it opened up marijuana use throughout the state, but it's not without limits. And so before I get into the impact of marijuana within community associations, it's probably good to talk about what the referendum does not allow. So first, can't consume marijuana in a public place or grow marijuana if the plants are visible from a public place. Two, you can't, and this is probably the most important one for purposes of our discussion today, consuming, growing, processing, selling marijuana can be prohibited by the person who owns, occupies, or manages the property. And so that key term is manages, and do condominium and subdivision associations manage their property? And then lastly, anyone under the age of 21 still cannot possess or consume marijuana. So with those kind of limits in mind, let's talk about some of the ways that, that these issues pop up in community associations. Well, first, residents may attempt to utilize marijuana in a public place. Well, for purposes of the referendum, a public place was not defined. But I think the reality is it includes clubhouses, pools, common hallways, parks, common basements in a condominium setting. There's a question that may arise. What about decks, porches, balconies in condominiums? Well, ultimately, they may have residents or co-owners may have exclusive use rights to decks, porches, and balconies, but if they're outside and can be seen from other common elements or other units, is that not a public place? I think it's a reasonable assertion that it is. So if anyone is attempting to utilize marijuana in a public place, including those areas that we've listed on this slide, the association probably has a basis to restrict its use and doesn't need to adopt any type of change in its rules, policies, or bylaws in order to do so. It's prohibited there, okay? Now, what happens when we're talking about inside the unit? Well, that's a little bit of a different story. No longer a public place, but can associations restrict marijuana both inside the units or elsewhere by a rule or policy? So again, a person for purposes of the referendum is defined to include corporations, condominium associations, subdivision associations, they're nonprofit corporations. Certainly, condominiums are charged with governing the affairs of the condominium. And to that end, most likely are managing the property so as to be entitled under the referendum to restrict marijuana use within units. Now we'll get to how such a restriction can be adopted, but it's important to note that those restrictions may be out there. Subdivision associations are a little bit of a closer call. They may not be managing property. There may be a private park in the subdivision, but every lot is owned by the individual owner, and they're not common elements or common areas that you would typically see in a condominium association. So it may be a little bit of a closer call. And obviously, this is still relatively new in the legal world. Inevitably, we're going to see court cases down the line that will probably rule on some of these issues. So getting back to the idea of what restrictions should you be aware of for your selling clients or purchasing clients? Well, in condominiums, the co-owners have a statutory right to approve an amendment to their bylaws with a 2/3 vote of all of the co-owners in the complex. There's no mortgagee consent required. And so in a, let's say a 30-unit complex, if 20 of the units want to ban marijuana anywhere in the community, 20 votes will get it done. The bylaw can be recorded and marijuana could be restricted there. Subdivision associations, again, are a little bit different. There's no statutory scheme in place that governs subdivision and homeowner associations. So adopting a restriction is really dependent on what do the recorded restrictions say. And then lastly, again, the board might also adopt an express rule prohibiting the use of marijuana on the common elements. Well, the board has the right to adopt reasonable rules and regulations governing the use of the common elements. And so you might see it in the rules that don't have to be approved by the members, just by the board, that contain such restrictions. So I guess in the course of assisting your clients, if you are aware that they intend to use marijuana, it's probably a good idea to go find out from the associations beforehand, are there restrictions on marijuana either in the bylaws, in the recorded restrictions, or in their rules and regulations? Now, recreational marijuana is not all. Also, we see issues that pop up with medical marijuana. And some residents may view the medical marijuana card as a license to utilize marijuana, even if there are restrictions in place. But the reality is that community associations are under no obligation to grant what's called reasonable accommodation under the Fair Housing Act to utilize marijuana to alleviate the effects of a disability. Ultimately, marijuana is still a Schedule I controlled substance under federal law. It's illegal under federal law. The only reason that it exists in the individual states is that the federal government isn't enforcing that federal law. So again, someone with a medical marijuana card is not going to be able to trump the underlying restrictions that may be in place in community associations prohibiting marijuana. Now, you may say, hey, if we don't see an express prohibition on marijuana in the respective community, it's fine. Well, that may not be the case, because even if it's not expressly prohibited, there could be other restrictions that are cited to limit the use of marijuana, particularly smoking marijuana. First one that's commonly relied on is the smoke and odor are nuisances. And in almost every bylaw, you'll see a provision that prohibits offensive or annoying activities or anything which becomes a nuisance to the residents. Look, if the smoking of marijuana is so severe that you have 3 other co-owners in a 4-unit building complaining about it, has it not arisen to the level of a nuisance that's actionable? Yeah, probably. There's also a provision in the master deed that says that you can't do anything that will interfere with or impair the use and enjoyment of units by others. Certainly, marijuana, smoke, and odor could arise to that level. Now, it's not just the nuisance side of things as well. Individuals that are looking to cultivate marijuana may need to make changes in or modifications to the common elements or the dwelling exterior that the board of the association may be well within its rights to deny. There's a statute in place in the Michigan Condominium Act that says, hey, you can't change anything within the common elements of the project or make exterior changes to the unit except as provided by the condominium documents. And to that end, most of the condominium documents have an express provision that says, hey, you need to get approval from the board before you make changes in the common elements, okay? That may also be the case in subdivision associations that have an architectural control committee that would prohibit you from making exterior modifications to a lot. Now, what are some of the common modifications that you'll see with marijuana cultivation? Venting, electrical upgrades, plumbing. There's one that I left off, air conditioning units, and the subdivision I'm referring to in particular, the owner of that lot installed 4 air conditioning compressors, clearly in an effort to help cultivate marijuana growth inside the home with or without anyone actually living there, okay? So that may be an avenue that the association has to control marijuana growth, because if you can't make the necessary modifications to grow it, does that make sense to live there or utilize it for that purpose? And then lastly, what you might see is that it violates local ordinance. And there's another kind of catch-all provision in most restrictions that say that you can't do anything that's illegal. Well, if you're violating local ordinance or state law, you are therefore in violation of the underlying restrictions or condominium bylaws. So lastly, what are some of the potential penalties that your clients may face if they do engage in marijuana use that runs afoul of these restrictions? Well, there's the prospect of monetary fines being levied in condominium associations and possibly in some subdivision associations. Inevitably, the association may file a lawsuit against the owner of the lot, and in a lot of cases, and in almost all cases in condominiums, and in some cases in subdivisions, a violating owner is responsible for the association's attorney's fees and costs if the association is successful in pursuing litigation. And then lastly, there's a special provision in the Michigan Condominium Act as it pertains to leasing. An association has the ability to evict a tenant who is violating the terms and conditions of the document. So this also has applicability to your clients that are leasing condominium units, because if their tenants are engaging in this behavior, the association has the right to evict the tenant and may also hold the co-owner landlord responsible for attorney's fees and costs. So ultimately, this is, I think, a really short primer for you guys, just to give you an idea of what's out there with respect to marijuana use and how it may impact both the sale, purchase, and lease of residential properties. So with that, I'll open it up to questions, comments from the members.
Allison,
you.
do we have any questions for Jeff?
Yes, we do. The first question came in from Pat Deary, Keller Williams Platinum. She wants to know, what about in a regular subdivision and your neighbor is smoking marijuana in the backyard?
Very good question. Well, I would say this. In that instance, is it in a subdivision setting, is smoking in the yard a public place? That's a little bit of a more challenging aspect because the lot boundary is within the exclusive use and right of the lot owner. So is it truly a public place when compared to an attached condominium setting? Questionable. Is that use a nuisance that would be actionable under subdivision restrictions? I would say this, generally, we have taken the position that a nuisance is going to require complaints from multiple neighbors, okay? Just one individual who was complaining about their neighbor probably does not get it into the level of an actionable nuisance claim. But with that said, keep in mind in almost all subdivisions, a lot owner has the right to enforce the restrictions against another lot owner. So while the association may not be assisting you, you as an individual owner could take action against your neighbor for violating those restrictions.
Thank you very much. And to piggyback on that, another question came in. Would these apply to individual rental properties that are not part of a condo or homeowner association?
I want to say this, that's not my specialty area of expertise, but I am aware that the referendum does make an exception for landlords in that they are not able to insert into a lease, into a residential lease, a prohibition on marijuana use, just marijuana smoking. Okay, so just be aware of that fact that's within the referendum.
Thank you. Another question came in from Gino Tazzi, who's our next year's president for this chapter. Let's see what Gino wanted to know. Can a homeowners association itself fine a member if the smell of marijuana originates from the interior of their home?
Well, very good question. So first off, subdivision associations only have the right to levy fines if there are provisions in their bylaws or recorded restrictions. And a lot of them don't have that opportunity as compared to condominium associations. So let's say that those fine provisions do exist. If they do exist, again, we'd have to raise the question of, is that an actionable violation under the restrictions if only one individual is complaining about it? If I were representing that community, I think I would have questions about whether the subdivision association should be getting involved in the absence of an express ban on marijuana in the entire community.
Very good, thank you. The next one's sort of a two-part question. Can permanently installed marijuana grow equipment be considered a fixture and convey with the property? And would an appraiser be required to flag that? And how does that play into the underwriting and mortgage process?
Now that's a good question that I don't know that I can answer specifically. I guess I look at it from the perspective of, let's circle back to making those modifications within the lot, okay? Or within the unit. Did the owner seek permission from the association at the time? And if they didn't, or they didn't receive permission, any of those exterior modifications could be subject to an action by the association even after the individual who installed them sells the property. So just be aware of that fact.
Thank you so much. We have time for one more question. How many communities have you seen adopt restrictions on marijuana?
So I would say that I've had a few communities just do a ban on marijuana as a standalone bylaw measure, but certainly as we amend governing documents for almost all condominiums, the boards of condominiums have generally requested that we present a ban on marijuana use as part of the amendment process. Now, a lot of co-owners will object to that and it gets removed as part of the amendment process, but certainly most boards are saying, let's put it out there.
Very good, Bob. Or very good, Jeff. Thank you, Bob. I think we'll go back to you.
Yeah, I was going to add, by the way, that I think in an appraisal situation where grow equipment is on the property, it could create an underwriting problem where the loan's being sold to Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. So I would check with a lender very carefully on that one. Yes. Okay. At this point, I would like to introduce Jamie Paternoster, who is again one of our sponsors of today's meeting. And Jeff, thank you very much for information on a very important and timely topic.
Thank you.
Hello, Grosse Pointe Board of Realtors. Jamie Paternoster here with House Call Home Inspection. Thank you for allowing us to be a sponsor for today's event. As a full-service home inspection company, I want to remind you that there are two things that we do that are equally as important. One is to understand the technical part of how a house functions, and two is to be able to effectively communicate that to our clients and to you. So whether it be while you are preparing a house to list, or if you're going through homes with buyers, or if it's months after a client moves into the house, we are always here to be able to talk about any questions about how the house is working or how to best take care of it for the future. Also, as a full-service home inspection company, we want you to know that if there are any services that you need for the home, chances are we offer it, whether it be radon testing or sewer scope or air quality or mold testing, a relationship with a local well and septic provider, or fancy tools like thermal imaging cameras and moisture meters. If you need it, chances are we have it. Always feel free to give us a call at 586-434-0243. Find us anywhere online, including our website, housecalldetroit.com. Enjoy your day.
Thank you, Jamie. Now we're going to have a series of messages from some of our chapter regents. If you have questions, please use the chat function. First presentation is going to be from Pat Deary, a 2020 Macomb regent and a re-elected 2021 Macomb regent.
Hi, my name is Pat Deary, and I was asked to talk to you today about two grants that are available to us from the National Association of Realtors. The first one is a placemaking program grant, and that is available to help create new outdoor public places, spaces, some places that the community can gather, that type of a destination. They have two levels on the placement grant. They have a level 1, which you can get a grant up to $1,500. And this one is to test the viability of long-range plans and investment initiatives that will help increase the community viability and livability. This one is to kind of do some things like temporary parklets, pop-up parks, pedestrian plazas, bike lanes, things like that. And the placemaking projects offer an opportunity for realtor associations and realtors to engage in community outreach and to set the stage for advocacy efforts. An association and its members need to be involved in the planning, designing, funding, and the building of the project. So it enables you to get involved with your community. You can use it for street furniture, painting, signage, materials, landscaping, murals, things like that. And it's a fun project to do. It also has a level 2, which you can get a grant up to $5,000. And this one helps create new public areas and destinations in a community that can be accessible to everyone, in that it's opened at all times. So it's something in a park, something that you can make something permanent with it. Maybe a plaza, maybe a parklet, maybe trails, maybe a dog park, or a play or fitness area that's outside that's accessible to everyone. And these funds are available to us. There are means that you have to go ahead and fill out an application. It does go through a process, and the process is that GBPR would identify the project, and that would go through our community outreach committee. And then we would select a project. And also, we would need to know that there is a cash investment by our association involved. And we would have to have the approval of the board of directors. So it does go through a process. But if you have an idea of something that we can do in your community that can enhance people's lives and make things pleasanter for them, and especially since we're all have to be outdoors nowadays, there's nothing much indoors we can do. It's a great way of getting involved in our community. There's also what's called a Smart Growth Program. That's another grant that we can apply for. And this is the approach on this is to develop and encourage a mix of building types and uses, diverse housing and transportation options, development within existing neighborhoods and community engagement. You can use it with mixed land uses, take advantage of compact building design, create a range of housing opportunities and choices, create walkable neighborhoods, foster distinctive, attractive communities, preserve open spaces, provide a variety of transportation choices, make development decisions predictable, encourage community and stakeholder collaborations. Again, with that program, there are a $1,500 grant and a $5,000 grant. Again, it would go through the same process as we went through on the other placemaking marketing one. But those are options that we have out there. I know one thing that I would think is kind of interesting in St. Clair Shores, we have down in our nautical mile, we have little scooters that people can rent and go around the nautical mile with that. Maybe it's something like that in a community that you know of. So if you have any ideas of things that we could get involved with the community that we can apply for a grant for, please reach out to the community outreach group or any of your Macomb regents, and we would love to take your suggestions and see how we can run with them. Thanks for your time and have a great day.
Thanks, Pat. Next is an important message and a very timely one from our 2020 Macomb Regent, Don Simons.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Macomb Chapter General Membership Meeting of the Grosse Pointe Board of Realtors. I want to thank you all for coming out here this morning and joining us. Also, I wanted to congratulate all our 2021 Board of Regents winners this morning. Glad to have you join us. Also, I wanted to take a moment this morning, and all I want to do is thank all of the mortgage company, title companies, home warranty companies, home inspection companies that are working so very hard in this market to help us all navigate through it for our customers and clients. And also, let's just remember to, they're all behind, they're all trying to make it work. So let's remember that kindness and patience will go a long way here in helping us all navigate through us. Things are just taking a little longer than we're used to. We just got to have some patience and know that that's gonna happen. So I want to thank you all again and have a great day. And thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Don. Good message, very timely. Market, pace of the market is huge. Next, we're going to have a presentation from Kelly Dix, another of your 2021 Macomb Regents. She is going to provide some information on some of our live/virtual stuff that's coming up. Again, if you have any questions, please use the chat function. Kelly?
Hello, fellow Grosse Pointe Board of Realtor members. My name is Kelly Dix. I'm currently one of the regents for the Macomb County chapter of the Grosse Pointe Board of Realtors. Something our chapter has been doing since last year is the morning coffee pop-in mixer. This was actually an event suggestion by one of your local members. This event offers another option for members to get together to mix and mingle with other members of our chapter and our board who may not be able to do it in the evening when we had our evening mixers. Sometimes people are showing houses, or sometimes they have other family obligations that they need to do in the evening. One of the purposes of the coffee pop-in mixer was to get to mix and mingle with other realtors, get to know the current region officers of the Macomb chapter, as well as visit with local businesses in Macomb County. One main goal of why the Macomb chapter was created was to create a relationship between affiliates and realtors that live, work, and play in Macomb County and local businesses in the area. With the lifestyle changes that are going on right now currently, we are also offering a Zoom link to our coffee pop-in mixer. This way, if you don't feel comfortable popping in person, you can pop in on Zoom virtually. Watch for the Zoom link on the event page in our website or the Zoom link in the emails coming up with the events. Our coffee pop-in mixers currently are scheduled for the second Thursday of every month from 8:30 to 9:30 in the morning. And that's what it is. It's just called a pop-in because you can pop in for 5 minutes. You can pop in and stay for the whole hour if you want. This is not a structured event. However, some interesting current topics do come up and create some great discussion. Our next coffee pop-in mixer is scheduled for Thursday, November 12th from 8:30 to 9:30 in the morning at the Coffee Break Cafe located at 19156 10 Mile in East Pointe, and that's just west of I-94. We also do have our December event scheduled for Thursday, December 10th from 8:30 to 9:30 in the morning, and that's at the Panera Bread, 51490 Gratiot in Chesterfield, and that's just north of 23 Mile. We hope to see you at one of our upcoming pop-up mixers. Thanks.
Allison, I think Pat and Kelly are both here with us today. Don had another obligation, although he may be hiding in the background as well. Are there any questions for Pat and Kelly specifically?
Yes, we do have a question. The first one is for Kelly. If I have an idea of where to hold the next pop-in mixer, who should I contact?
Well, that's a great question, Allison, and we'd be happy to welcome any suggestions for events where we could visit in the morning. We'd like to keep them in Macomb County because that's where we're trying to concentrate. But I'd be happy to talk to anybody that had a suggestion. I've been trying to go around looking for other areas and trying to spread them around Macomb County. The problem I'm having now are some places are actually changing their hours or actually closing down because of the virus. But I'd be happy to check out any suggestion you have or any business that you really want to try and support, or you can talk to any of the regions on the Macomb chapter.
Thank you, Kelly. If you don't mind dropping your contact information in the chat so everybody knows how to reach out to you, that would be fantastic.
I'd be happy to.
The next question is for Pat Deary. How can I apply as an individual for one of those grants?
Well, I'm sure you're aware of the fact that individuals cannot go for grants. They need to go through our association, and members should contact the GBBR leadership. So you can reach out to me, any of the regents, Allison, Amy, any of them, and they can go ahead and share the ideas with the community outreach group. But as an individual, sorry, you can't do that.
Good to know. Thanks, Pat. Go ahead and drop your contact information in the chat so everybody can reach out to you if they have more questions after the meeting. And Kelly, one more for you. Are you considering supporting businesses who are members of local chambers of commerce for the morning pop-in mixers? Kelly, you're on mute. Let me undo that just a moment. Got to find you down the list.
My apologies, I did it.
Thank you.
Yes, we'd be happy to support any local business in the area. We'd be happy to create a relationship with the local chambers as well. That is something that is on our list of Board of Regents that we want to start doing as well.
Very good. And with that, Bob, I will turn it back over to you. Thank you, Kelly, and thank you, Pat.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
Welcome.
thank you for those messages. We've been very fortunate to have been involved with a number of grants. over the course of the last several years, and it has been very helpful in getting our municipalities to recognize us as a valuable resource when it comes to their consideration of future planning as it relates to real estate. The morning pop-ups have been very well supported when they were virtual, and of course, the last two have been live with a virtual component. We want to continue to work on that so that we can offer that in the future when things open up again. And Don, kudos to your comments. The expectations we paint with our customer clients are good. What turns a successful transaction from average to excellent if we paint the right expectation, and from average to a lousy referral if we don't paint the right expectation. So treating those that are involved in the transaction from start to finish is important. Next, we're going to hear from your 2021 chapter president and current vice president, president-elect Gino Tazi.
Hi, members. It's a pleasure to be here today on this wonderful annual meeting. Congratulations to our newly elected 2021 chapter regions. On behalf of all Macomb chapter members, thank you in advance for your service and leadership. We've accomplished a lot of great things as a chapter so far this year, and we look forward to a busy and productive 2021. Here are some programs and events coming up before the end of the year. First one is our final 6-hour continuing education class. It's going to be taught by Jack Waller. It's on October 26th. Registration is still open, so act now, reserve your place. Obviously, October 31st is a deadline. Obviously, we're aware of that, right, as realtors. Number 2, a virtual craft cocktail event benefiting RPAC 2 is planned for October 28th. Please save this date. Try to attend. Try to get involved. RPAC is very important. It's our vehicle for influencing our legislature, our governor, our entire government. So it's super important. Number 3, our association annual meeting is coming up. It's going to be held virtually November 4th. Tune in to hear the announcement. There's going to be the board of directors for 2021 election results and much more. It's going to be a great, worthwhile event, and they will have raffle drawings, and we're going to have a great time. Number 4, military relocation professional. That is the MRP. That's a designation, or maybe more like a certification, my bad. It's scheduled for November 9th. It's taught by Anne-Marie DeRozier. Register in advance at gpbr.com. Next one is our morning pop-in mixer. It's coming up soon. It's on the second Thursday of each month. We're doing these in person and virtual via Zoom. And as we found out from Kelly, just the great places we go to, I go to these. It's a great time to interact, discuss business with our colleagues, and learn, from our experiences. The next thing on our list is our annual installation and holiday reception, which will be held virtually this year. Save this date, December 9th, and keep an eye out for more information. This is a great event. Obviously, if it was in person, that would be great. It would be better, but, virtually we'll get through it and it'll be fun. Number 7, monthly updates from our affiliate members will continue on the first Thursday of each month via Zoom, Red Wine and Regulations. We hope that you join, so make some space for that in your schedule. And then finally, monthly roundtable luncheons are going to continue virtually on the second Friday of each month. Join for excellent information and stay connected with your GPBR colleagues. This is a fun forum for us to just share our experiences and learn from each other. Finally, I want to thank today's sponsors of this event and of the Grosse Pointe Board and our chapter specifically. Also, our corporate partners and the members in attendance for being here today and taking the time out of your busy schedules to support and celebrate our chapter. It is much appreciated. And from me personally, I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gino. Before we get to the drawings, I want to provide one additional announcement and then a reminder. I want to remind everybody that on November 10th at 9 o'clock, we have a broker owner meeting scheduled. At that meeting, we will hear from Maria Zardes, who will be giving us an update on what's going on in Macomb County, along with information on something called the Blue Economy Initiative, which is Macomb County specific, which will be very interesting. And we're going to hear from Kathleen Green from the Anchor Bay Chamber of Commerce about what's happening in business, again, in our Chesterfield Township area. I also want to remind you that we want everybody to support our fundraising for Harper, our guardian angel medical service dog named for the city of Harper Woods. Remember, these dogs help save a life. Okay, with that, I think it's time for the drawing. Our first is a $50 gift card from First Premier Title. Give it a spin. Congratulations, Katrina. Our next drawing is for 50% off local association 2021 dues, and the winner is Randy. Congratulations, Randy. So congratulations to our winners and thank you for being a great chapter. Remember to stick around afterward if you'd like to network. Your meeting is adjourned.